$307,000 gone.
$37,000. That was every single dollar William and Nancy had saved for retirement. Gone. In one wire transfer. On one ordinary afternoon. They didn't get robbed at gunpoint. Nobody broke into their house. They followed the instructions. They did exactly what they were told to do. And that's what makes this one so hard to watch. See this? This is what happens when criminals get so good at looking legitimate that even doing the right thing becomes the wrong move. Stay with me. Because if you've ever bought a home or plan to, this case is going to change the way you read your emails forever. Okay, so picture this. William and Nancy had spent their entire careers working toward one simple goal: retire comfortably in a home they could truly call their own, and they found it. A house on the river in Wilmington, Illinois. The kind of place you close your eyes and imagine when you think about what you've been working for all these years. Quiet, peaceful, on the water. After decades of saving, they were finally there. They were closing in on it. Everything was moving forward exactly the way it was supposed to. They had their real estate attorney, their realtor, the title company, all the right people in place. The closing date was set. There was nothing, absolutely nothing, that suggested anything was wrong. Then the email arrived. It appeared to come from their real estate attorney's assistant. The address? It matched exactly what they had been using throughout the entire transaction. The email had an attachment, and that attachment had everything. The law firm's letterhead, the address of the property, the name of the title insurance company, the exact balance owed for closing, detailed wiring instructions. Everything looked right. The signatures matched the law firm. The formatting was professional. The information was accurate. Here's the thing. When you're deep in the process of buying a home, you're already juggling 100 moving pieces. Emails from attorneys, title companies, realtors, they all start to blur together. And when one lands that matches everything you've already seen, you don't question it. You follow the instructions. William and Nancy wired $37,000 2 weeks before the scheduled closing, or just like the email told them to. Pause. Let that land. Closing day arrived. William and Nancy showed up ready. Ready to sign. Ready to get the keys. Ready to start the chapter they had been building toward for decades. And instead, confusion. The money wasn't there. The funds had never reached the title company. The $37,000 they had wired 2 weeks earlier had gone straight into an account controlled by criminals who had posed as their attorney's office. William described the moment. We were in shock. I could barely drive home, Their daughter was there. She watched it happen in real time. She described what the closing table looked like. As soon as they said it, the tears started flowing because I thought, what are we going to do? And William and Nancy just kept repeating themselves. We sent the money. We sent it like 2 weeks before. That's what we were told to do. Yeah, they did everything right, and it still happened. So how did the criminals pull this off so perfectly? 2 words. Spoofing technology. They made the email appear as though it was coming from the real estate attorney's assistant's actual email address. Not a look-alike address. Not a slightly misspelled version. The actual address. The one William and Nancy had been communicating with the entire time. And the attachment? It had the law firm's real letterhead, the real property address, the real title insurance company name, the exact balance owed at closing. That level of detail doesn't come from guessing. Somebody had access to the inside of this transaction. Hey now, were there any warning signs at all? Cybersecurity experts who reviewed the email said there were a few subtle things. Some sentences had slightly awkward phrasing, a line here and there that didn't sound entirely professional. But these were small, easy to miss, especially when everything else looked so convincing. Right. So, who was responsible? The real estate law firm, Pfizer Barty, issued a statement. They said they were also victims, that criminals had stolen their letterhead and logo from a legitimate closing confirmation email the firm had sent out just 2 days before the fraudulent message arrived. They said their systems had not been hacked. A forensic security audit found no breach. But here's what federal investigators said. In cases like this, the point of entry could have been anyone. The attorney on the title company, the realtor, or even the buyers themselves. Any account, any inbox, any system involved in that transaction was a potential door in. FBI Special Agent Eric Schiffman explained the investigation process. What we want to do is find out where the point of intrusion was. Who got the original hack? How did they get in? What did the bad guys have access to? And that question, where did they get in, was still being investigated. $37,000 gone. That wasn't just savings. That was their entire retirement fund. Without it, William and Nancy could no longer afford to purchase the home. Their daughter stepped in. She purchased the house for them so they could still move in. And while that gave them a roof over their heads, it didn't give them back what they lost. The financial damage was done. At their only realistic shot at recovering the money, an insurance claim, if investigators could determine which business had been compromised, and if that business carried cyber insurance. Here's the problem. At the time, cyber insurance wasn't widely required. Most companies involved in real estate transactions didn't carry it, and nobody was required by law to have it. It's $37,000 gone. You should also ask companies if they have cyber insurance. But you know, all of this is so new. Most companies don't have cyber insurance, and they're not required to. Federal authorities also noted, if you report within 72 hours of wiring the funds, there's a chance the money can be traced. Every hour after that, the odds drop. Once the funds move internationally, recovery becomes nearly impossible. William and Nancy didn't know any of that. Most people don't. All right, let's talk about what you need to know. Because this type of operation is growing fast. According to the FBI, wire transfer schemes targeting real estate transactions have risen dramatically. In the year this happened, criminals attempted to steal approximately $1 billion through cases exactly like this one. $1 billion. So here's what you do. First, before you wire a single dollar, pick up the phone and call your attorney or title company directly. Use a number you found yourself, not the one in the email. Confirm every detail verbally before anything moves. Second, after you wire the funds, call again. Confirm the money arrived at the correct account. Don't assume. Verify. Third, if you can, ask whether a cashier's check is an option. Depending on the amount, and wire transfers are sometimes required, but it's worth asking. Fourth, ask every company involved in your transaction whether they carry cyber insurance. It's a new question. Some people won't know the answer. Ask anyway, because if something goes wrong, that policy could be your only path to recovery. And fifth, look closely at every email related to your closing. Slightly off grammar. A sentence that sounds a little strange. A request to wire funds earlier than expected. These are the signals. They're small, but they're there. Anyone can fall for it, especially if an attachment comes along that looks to be your closing documents. It's almost like another form of verification for you. Exactly. The attachment is what makes it feel real. That's the move. Now you know it. William and Nancy eventually moved into the house on the river. Their daughter made sure of that. But the $37,000 they spent a lifetime saving? That's still gone. The people who sent that email have not been identified. The investigation continues. And the operation that targeted them has likely moved on to the next closing table. That's what makes these cases different from a lot of what we cover here. There's no dramatic confrontation. No moment where someone realizes they're in danger. Just a normal email on a normal afternoon that quietly erased decades of work. That's why this channel exists. Every case we trace is a pattern you can learn to recognize before it reaches you. If you've been through something like this, or if you know someone who has, drop it in the comments. Your experience is exactly what helps other people see it coming. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. Not because I'm asking, because the next case we cover could be the one that matters most to someone in your life. New documentaries every day. We trace every move so you don't have to learn it the hard way. I'll see you in the next one.